heart attack, fast fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and packs. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here. And now, let us begin. Whenever we last left off, Midoriya, he has informed Bakugo, Momo, Mei, and Ibara as to what he is. He has a guardian angel, and he is using angelic power to fight the forces of hell. Not really a thing he would ever thought he would do with his life, but fuck, here we are. Anyways, now, with that being said, Midoriya, he has been learning a bit of things. This is 2 days after he had that talk with Bakugo and everyone. Now, some kids from Class 1B, they were moved into Class 1A, since, sadly, they did have to fill those seats up. And quite a lot of people, yeah, it was kind of nerve-wracking. Class 1A, they've been targeted. Half the students in this class used to be here, not even less than a month ago. Now, they're dead. And the other day they were attacked. So, some people are a bit on their toes. Villains are becoming more and more prevalent. In fact, crime has gone up, even though All Might is still around. Now, with that, Midoriya, he has learned a bit of things. His guardian angel, she began to teach him a bit more magic, and something that might actually be very helpful if he does want to walk during the day. She began to teach him disguise magic. Basically, he can make parts of his face either harder to look at or undetectable. You can achieve the same thing by wearing a mask, but someone can take off your mask. And this is basically just like a different form of learning the invisibility. Plus, it's more like shape-shifting, if I'm going to be honest. Now, Midoriya began to learn this. In fact, it was one of the easiest skills. Now, he was also trying to catch up on his sleep, since he barely even got 2 hours. Now, with that being said, let us cut over to Class 1A. With Midoriya, he's sleeping and basically learning about all this stuff. You do have Class 1A. Bakugo, yeah. No one was really able to win the sports festival. So Bakugo ended up having to go with Best Jeanist. And you also do have Ida. Ida, he picked the same hero, Manuel, since what happened to his brother. And it's got him a bit more frustrated. First, Ochako, his friend, and some other of his classmates. He didn't really, know them very well, but still. He was hoping that they could all grow to be great friends. Now, with that being said, you also do have Mei. She's doing her intern at a tech company. Ibara, I don't really know where she did her internship, to be honest. I would need to look into that. And let's see, Momo. She did her internship with that beauty salon hero, I believe. What's her name? The dragon hero. There we go. Now, while they are all doing that, Midoriya, whenever he does wake up and go throughout his nightly routine of hunting down criminals, he simply just hunts down the demons, trying to focus on this. He has a bad feeling. Along with that, Mr. Nobody, or, well, Mr. Something, I believe I said his name was, not Mr. Nobody. That guy is from a completely different thing. Anyways, Mr. Something, he quite simply has been doing something. He's been increasing crime. He takes a few people captive, shows them videotapes, or the chapter black tape, then releases them. That way, they can cause chaos and havoc around the city. In fact, quite a lot of these people do get dropped off sometimes, or the tape gets played in public squares, places where few people they can catch a glimpse of it, and go crazy. Now, that means that the city, sometimes, they either have to try and figure out what's going on. Heroes are dispatched and they take down the rioters, or the people who are going crazy. While Midoriya, he's gotten a lead. Tonight he is tracking somebody down. And surprise, surprise, they know something important. Now, Midoriya, he tracks down a high-class demon. And whenever he does find the man, he's in a warehouse. And he's actually hanging out with his crew. Midoriya basically knocking down the door and walking in, with hands full of blades. 2 knives in between each finger. As soon as the man does see Midoriya and go to reach for a gun, Midoriya just spins his hand downwards and he just underhands a knife. It's like underhanding a baseball. Now, whenever he underhands the knife, he throws it throughout the air, and it stabs the man directly into his wrist. The man, he just drops his gun. Any of the guys who do stand up and try to go for their own weapons, Midoriya throws the rest of the blades, before pulling out 2 guns. Some of the blades hitting their targets as Midoriya just opens fire. Now, he does aim for non-vital areas. Now, that already is a bad sign. The Punisher probably knows that they know something. And whenever Midoriya does walk over, he does try and get information from somebody. Simply just picking them up off the ground and holding them by one arm. Midoriya trying to tell the man to give him an answer. Otherwise, as he just moves the gun lower towards the man's gut, telling him that he is going to make sure he has a very long and painful death. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, this is whenever one of the guys here, who wasn't a demon, surprisingly, he grabs a shotgun and directly points it at the back of the Punisher's head. He's got a knife stuck in his shoulder and a bullet in the back of the other one, telling the Punisher to not move. Otherwise, he is in a world of trouble. You really think that will hurt me? Go ahead. I dare you to take your shot, but if you do, I'm blasting your friend's stomach out. The man, pulling the trigger. The gun in his hands goes off. And where he expects the Punisher's body to simply just fall forwards and go limp, it doesn't do anything. Midoriya just turns his head to look directly at the man, before unloading the entire clip into his friend. Turning around and grabbing the gun by the barrel, before simply just snapping it in 2. Now, Midoriya then grabs the man by his throat and throws him across the room, before walking over and picking him up again, and throwing him onto the table in front of him, it smashing into pieces. Midoriya telling the man that he has been busy. He's been looking into something. In fact, Mr. Something, do you know where he is? What are you? No person could survive that. Well, I'm not a person. I'm the Punisher. Now, where is Mr. Something? Or are you not the boss? Your soul is black, but you are human. Midoriya is looking around the room, and he can tell which people are the demons, since they have hints of red. And Midoriya, he can see exactly who the demon here is, before walking over and grabbing the man off the floor, and pulling the knife out of the back of his shoulder, and plunging it in the front of it, by simply grabbing it by the back and pulling it through his shoulder blade to get to the front, telling the man that he wants an answer. Now, tell me where Mr. Something is. Fine. You really want to know where he's at? Do you even actually know who he is? Oh, I'm perfectly aware of who he is. He's the man who fucked with my family. Really? He killed your family. What's new? Well, he also is the reason why I got this fucking scar on my head. You wanna know what that is? That's a gunshot. From point blank range. You're serious, aren't you? There's no way you could have survived that. Take a guess as to why. Besides, I already know that you're not human either. The man's eyes widening, as he simply just headbutts Midoriya. It looks like his little disguise, it's not going to be very much effective anymore, as he simply just turns and goes to run off. Midoriya taking aim with a gun, and hitting the man directly in the back of his right kneecap, with 2 bullets. Midoriya walking over and grabbing him by his leg, telling him to simply give him his answer. Before Midoriya just simply begins by putting his other leg, or his left boot, directly onto the front of the man's top leg, directly above where he shot. Whenever the guy doesn't give him an answer, Midoriya begins to just pull up, tearing the man's leg off. And the man screams out in pain, and begins to tell Midoriya what he wants to hear. The exact location of Mr. Something. And well, it is a shock as to who this man truly is. Meanwhile, let us cut over somewhere else. Well, I was going to say Mr. Something, but that's not who we're talking about. We will cut over to Stain and Hosu City. Todoroki, while he is interning with his father, he hears something, and he begins to run in a certain direction. The city wasn't attacked by the villains, but the scream, it echoed for a couple blocks. And they were not supposed to be patrolling this area. They were supposed to be going down another city block. But apparently something's going on over there. Now, they came down this street, and whenever Todoroki heard this, he began to run off. Endeavor, yeah, he wasn't made aware until he turned around and Todoroki was gone. And as soon as he realized that, this is whenever an explosion went off a couple blocks away. He's guessing Todoroki is over there, and he takes off running. Now, with that being said, we do have Ida, who currently just had a knife pulled out of the back of his shoulder. And Stain tells him that he really should not have come after him. What is he, a high schooler? Ida simply just beginning to tell him what he did to his brother and that he is going to kill him. Along with that, he's trying to do some good. He's trying to simply bring his friends back. Really, kid? Are you serious? Are you delusional? You can't reverse death. Besides, if you could, then my work would be for nothing. Then again, so is yours. Stain, bring the knife up and plunging it into the back of Ida's chest, and stabbing him straight through his spine and his heart. That being whenever Todoroki arrives and blast fire directly at Stain. Stain having to jump away, and his knife, or his sword, still in Ida's back. And Todoroki gets a look at the situation. Ida was just murdered by the hero killer. And Todoroki, yeah. Seeing that, he just throws out his left leg. And he gets ready. As soon as he throws out his left leg, he steps forwards with his right leg, throwing out an entire wall of fire, before simply just trying to switch off. As soon as he switches off, that's whenever he predicted it. Stain would either try and go over it, or try and find a way through it. And that is whenever, let's cut to Endeavor, who just got done with what the threat was. Meanwhile, whenever he does look up, he sees that there is a giant wall of ice directly over there, and he's confused, guessing that that is Shota, or Shoto. And he begins to make his way over, along with a lot of pro heroes. Whenever they arrive, they simply see Todoroki, with his left hand up, and simply just trying to produce ice. It's entirely covered in Bifrost. Now, Todoroki literally put everything he could of his quirk into that one blast. It not only exhausted him, but it just hurt his body. His right arm is burnt, and his left arm, his entire form's covered in ice, along with part of his bicep, and his face. Them being confused. The pro hero, who is currently gut wounded, basically explaining what happened. Now, after the explanation, they find that Todoroki, he not only captured the hero killer, but he may have just killed him by accident. However, it was justifiable. The hero killer murdered his friend, and he would have murdered Todoroki had he had their chance. He was merciless. He killed a high school student, so it's not a bad bet to say he would do it again. And this news is spread through the newspaper. And Bakugo does hear about it. Now, that means that Todoroki, he can't be a hero. He's going to be kicked out of UA. And it's heartbreaking. Even though he murdered and it was justifiable, they still have certain rules. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed this, and have an amazing night. Jesus, I'm lightheaded. I'm gonna try and catch my breath before I record the next part. My asthma's been acting up.